Alright guys, so this is going to be the corrections video for your first grading period notebook check. The way that this is going to work, because it is a notebook check and there's not really a way for me to let you go back and do corrections, especially because the form sent it back to you to tell you exactly what answers you should be picking, I'm going to drop some random words in this video today, which means at a turn, at some point, I'm just going to say something silly, like strawberry. Okay, and at the end of the video, to make sure that you've watched it all, I'm going to ask you to do a Google form, and I'm going to ask you to have selected all of the random words that Mrs. Brown is saying throughout this video. But I'm going to go through the quiz, and I'm going to tell you exactly where you could have found all this information. So I have a couple of tabs that are open. I have the Google Classroom, I have the quiz, I have my digital notebook, and then the other tab is just the recording thing that I'm using. So for the first initial question, it said our first lesson was over classifying rational numbers. What subset was introduced with the 7th grade content? Okay, so if I go to my notebook, and remember, I have some review videos. Here's where it starts talking about sets and subsets. Here's the graphic organizer that Mrs. Brown told us to go look at. Okay. Within this graphic organizer, you already knew about whole numbers. Let me go to the one at the bottom. You already knew about whole numbers, you knew about integers, and you knew about rational numbers. The new to 7th grade content was natural numbers, and I kept telling you guys to go look at the graphic organizer because you would be able to figure it out. Remember last year, the subsets were whole numbers, integers, and rational numbers. Well, this year we changed we didn't change anything, but we introduced natural numbers to say that they were all the counting numbers. So 0 was not included in the natural numbers. So that was the new information. Okay, let's look at number 2. Number 2 says subtracting integers. Rewrite the problem to add the blank, then follow the rules for adding integers. Use all lowercase letters and no spaces when typing your answer. So in my notebook, those are on, this is on page, or slide number 9, okay? And if I go to subtracting integers, rewrite the problem to add the opposite, then follow the rules for adding integers. Let's say that I didn't copy over the notes because that was a homework assignment. Let's say I didn't copy over the notes and I needed to go to the Google Classroom and find this. So I go to my past assignments, and I'm going to look through all these, and there's a couple in here that are just interactive notebook notes, interactive notebook slides, homework 914. If I go click in here, here's adding and subtracting integers. Here's where Mrs. Brown gave me the copy to move over into my notebook, and here is the information about subtracting rational numbers. Okay, and then there's also one. Oh, do I want to close this? Yeah. There's also one about multiplication and division of rational numbers. So if we'd gone back to this assignment, you would have had the information. Okay, so let's look at number 3. When dividing decimals, the divisor needs to be a blank number. Use all lowercase letters. So again, I'm going to go to my notebook. Okay, I'm going to go to where it talks about dividing rational numbers. Okay, I'm going to look at where it says about dividing decimals. So here's multiplying, dividing decimals. Here's multiplying and dividing rational numbers. Here's the decimal section. Here's the multiplication section. Here's division. Okay, so I'm dividing decimals. In order to make the divisor a whole number, multiply by a power of 10. When dividing decimals, the divisor needs to be a whole number. Okay, we clear the decimals out. When dividing fractions, number 4, when dividing fractions by another fractions, grapes, gravy. I need to multiply by the blank. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my notes. Here's dividing fractions. Okay. When dividing fractions, we change the number to a mixed and an improper fraction, rewrite the first fraction, change the division to multiplication, and find the reciprocal of the second fraction. So for this one, the divisor needs to be number 4. When dividing fractions by another fraction, I need to multiply by the reciprocal. I also accepted an answer of inverse and opposite if you had that. So I did accept a couple of different answers on that one. For number 5, the answer of the example problem for dividing fractions, so that same exact spot, dividing fractions, here is my answer, 33/8 is equal to 4 1/8. I also could go back and I could find this exact same thing in those interactive notebook slides that were on Google Classroom that you had access to. Okay, here they are right here, and you would have copied these over. That was part of the assignment. There's a video, and here's the answer to that problem. Okay, banana. All right, let's keep going. For number 6, it is important to remember that an equation must be blank. Use all lowercase letters and no spaces when typing your answer. So here is my Unit 1 notebook. Here's where it starts talking about equations and inequalities. The next slide is one-step equations. Okay, and we did these together in class. In order to solve an equation, we must isolate the variable and keep each side of the equation balanced. So I accepted balanced, I accepted equal, I accepted balance. Those are the answers that, if you put those into the form, that I went back and I gave you some credit for. But there's where you find the answer to number 6. For number 7, the answer to number 4 on solving one-step equations is, so that's on the exact same page. I'm just going to scroll down. Here's number 4, x is equal to 65. Okay. Coffee, apple. Number 8, when graphing an inequality, a or an blank circle means the solution is not included. Okay, so if I go to my inequality notes, so I'm going to keep scrolling down. Here they are. This is my inequality notes. Here's the part about the open circle and the open circle and the closed circle. It is not included, not included. Here's my inequality stuff. So this should be an open circle. Which of the following is a verbal description to represent the inequality? Y is less than 5/10. Okay, a lot of us put y is less than 5/100. That is in the 10th spot, the 10th spot. So if I go to my notes and I go to where it says y is less than 1/2, and 1/2 is greater than y. So if I go back over here, 1/2 is greater than y. There's the answer to number 9. For number 10, the blank is used as a starting point to read inequalities. Well, if I go back to that same page, use the variable as the starting point when reading inequalities. Banana. Banana. Okay. For number 11, which inequality phrase means the same thing as this sign? Okay, so if I go to my notes, here is my inequality phrases. There is my symbol. Equal, exceeds, below, or less than or equal to. The answer is D, less than or equal to, and you would have found that right here. Okay, and then also in the classroom, this was the homework from the night before we took the quiz. Here it is. Any quality notes in video. Here is Mrs. Brown's copy of these notes that you just had access to in Google Classroom, and you had to pull over and put into your notes. There is where I just found the one for number 11. All right, number 12. We made a two-step equation foldable. Remember this foldable, guys? Here we go. And when we finished it, I said, put this somewhere safe because we're about to take a notebook quiz, and I promise you that I'm going to ask one question from this foldable. Okay? So mine says we made a two-step foldable. What was the example to 3b? Well, 3b, the answer is -10. And I even told you 2/5 of x plus 9 equals 5. I told you what the equation was in the chat in case you did not have your foldable, but Mrs. Brown warned you that she would be taking an answer from this foldable. And then for the last question, it didn't matter. You could put in any type, which one do you prefer, because I think I'm going to make some changes to the way that we are doing interactive notebooks. And I think that you guys also noticed that we probably need to do a better job about keeping up with our notes and writing things down. Math is all about practice and going back and looking at examples that we shared before, following a process, and that's what our notes provide. So that's why Mrs. Brown harps on them so much. That's why she is so diligent about providing notes for you and hoping that you guys are following along. You're not in my classroom, so it is very, very difficult for me to make sure that you're copying down notes when you're at your house. It is. So the way that we try to keep everybody accountable is to give a quiz over notes to make sure that you are taking the class seriously and writing things down when we ask for you to write them down, so that you have something to refer back to. If we were in the classroom, and this is just for part of last year up until March, because I didn't get to do all of the things that I usually do, but this is my interactive notebook that I usually use in my classroom with examples and stuff. So this is why we're asking you to keep up with it. All right, guys. So don't forget to submit the Google form, and you are going to tell me all about all the awesome words that you heard biscuits in this video. I will give you up to a 70 so that you can pass this time, and we will work on taking our notes next grading period. Bye, guys.